Afternoon and good evening, wherever you may be. I hope you're having a good time. Today we got a little bit of stuff for you guys, and we'll see how it goes. What I want to do today is just look at some. We're gonna go into YouTube and just look at news and just see what the top stories are, and then we'll maybe give our takes and critiques. Blah 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 blah. I'm sure you guys don't care, but that's what the show is. So let's enjoy it. Now we're gonna go boom news. Simple, right? And let's see what's going on. Blah blah blah. Politics, politics, politics. Politics, politics. Bombings, bombings. Nigerian village was rattled by U.S. airstrikes that made their home shake. Yeah. Okay. Here's a normal story.
Still dig out and clean up for dozens of homeowners in the mountain community of Wrightwood in San Bernardino County, severely damaged by the Christmas storms. Fox 11's Nick Garcia spent the day there. Joins us live now on Highway 38, which I understand is still closed to the public. Nick?
Yeah, that's right, Phil. We'll show you what Wrightwood looks like in just a moment. But you can see here, 138 is still shut down. We're here in the Cajon Pass area. So from I-15 or the 15 freeway all the way up to the 2. Again, the 2 is still closed as well. The only people allowed through these pathways are residents of that Wrightwood area. And they're
That's not too bad.
Some of them for the first time today on the damage. Take a look.
Oh my gosh.
The cleanup continues in the San
Could be way
Bernardino County
worse.
community of Wrightwood.
Like,
Bulldozers and excavators clearing mud and debris out of
it still
waterways
sucks, but
after a strong Christmas Eve storm brought torrential rain. Dozens of homes are damaged.
We know that we've got a lot of water damage that is going to have to just be completely dried out. Everything, I mean, there's going to be a lot of gutting going on inside the house.
The first floor of Michelle Scribner's home was full of mud. The basement filled floor to ceiling with water.
We're just trying to take it one step at a time. We got the cars in the garage cleared out. We're trying to get down to the basement from the exterior.
Crews are taking it one step at a time too, assessing the damage, like this huge split in the parking lot of Mountain High East Ski Resort.
oh wow.
Some residents are just getting back to town, like Melissa Harvey, who got stuck down the hill where she works.
I had to get a hotel down there, make sure the hotel had laundry services. It was overwhelming. I needed to regroup and get home.
Across town, neighbors are helping neighbors, all pitching in to help clean up and rebuild.
Friends who are family. Some people that we've known for 35 years since we've moved up into this area. My husband and I both work for the school district, and our friends are our family.
Back out here live again. This is the road closure. This is State Route 138, where it is closed here at Cajon Boulevard. And as Michelle, that last person you heard from in that story, they're noted, they've got a lot of friends who are like family. That's because their actual blood relatives, their family who would likely go up there and help them, aren't able to get past these roadblocks because it's only allowed for residents. Again, another thing to note, though, just because those evacuation warnings have been lifted, the sheriff's office lifting that yesterday afternoon about 4 o'clock, there's still a lot of damage to get through and still a lot of the roads that are just not safe for everyone to be on. Phil?
Nick, have you talked to any of these homeowners about insurance? Because my understanding is that your basic homeowner's insurance doesn't typically cover, like, mudslides.
That's correct. In fact, one of the families I spoke with yesterday, they did not have flood insurance. Their homeowner's insurance does not cover that, so
Okay,
they're
so
not even
it's
sure
not going
what
too
kind
bad.
of bill they're facing.
That's unfortunate.
We spoke to again today, the
That's a really sad story. Shut up, Squanchy.
Restoration crew is coming through next week again after the holidays. Then
So
they'll get an idea
let's
how
check
much
out the
it'll
next
cost.
story. Not gonna lie, that was kind of boring, but It was an interesting look at what was going on over there. Shut up. Leave me alone. You're fine. Don't want to be in trouble, don't do bad stuff. Okay, this guy would have some interesting stuff to say.
Jeffrey Epstein file release was on President Trump's mind over Christmas. He used one of his dozens of holiday posts to wish, quote, Merry Christmas to all, including the many sleazebags who loved Epstein. It comes as the Justice Department now says it has uncovered more than 1 million additional documents potentially related to the case, and that it may need a few more weeks to review and release them to the public. Under the law signed by President Trump in November, all the DOJ Epstein documents were supposed to be released last Friday. Joining me now is Nick Ackerman. He was an assistant special Watergate prosecutor and a former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. All right, so these Epstein files, they go back decades, right?
Correct.
How can something like this happen where the DOJ on Christmas Eve, mind you, suddenly says, hey, we're now become aware of more than 1 million more files potentially related to Epstein, that it's going to take us weeks now to send out to the public?
Total nonsense. They had to know that these files existed right from the get-go. First of all, we know that prior to May of this year, Pam Bondi had lots of FBI agents going through all of these files.
Isn't that
to see
interesting?
whether President Trump's name was in these documents. So she knew where the documents were. But on top of that, even more glaring is the fact that all of these documents they had to know were in the Southern District of New York that prosecuted the Maxwell and Epstein criminal cases.
Why is that?
Because when you're a prosecutor, you are obliged, you're commanded to return over to the defense exculpatory evidence under a Supreme Court decision known as Brady. And in order to do that, you have to get every file that's in the federal government, whether it's in the FAA or some other agency. They have to be under your control so you can comply with your Brady obligations. And certainly Todd Blanche, who was in charge of this whole matter, was a former assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. He should have known that. So they had to know that these were there. There's no excuse for it.
All right, I do want to ask you about the process of going through these documents to make the redactions, which can be a tedious thing. Is it any surprise with the number of years this case has gone on, with the number of victims in this case, that it didn't meet its deadline, that the DOJ was not able to put everything
No,
out?
there's no
Well,
surprise.
they should have been able to, because they knew who the victims were. It's a matter of just putting a black mark over people who are victims. That was it. There's certainly nothing in there for national security. There's no other really valid reason not to turn over all this information. This should have taken no time at all. They should have been able to do it in that month. They knew where the documents were. This is just a lame excuse.
I do want to ask you, you've gotten bipartisan criticism of how this Pam Bondi has handled this, how her office has handled the release of these files. What do you think it is doing as far as the way people feel towards the DOJ, the public trust?
Oh, I think the public trust is completely dissolved.
Oh, yeah.
There is no public trust in the DOJ anymore. Whether it's appearing in
There
court
wasn't before, but
or whether it's just
if anyone
doing
just
the
happened to be
public and
trusting
telling
them, they
the
definitely
public
don't now.
what they don't have. I think she's got zero credibility at this point.
And when it comes to how these were put out, you had all of this back and forth where a couple of times the DOJ put documents out, then they rescinded them, saying there are some issues here that we need to do some redactions, and they put a hugely redacted where you couldn't see anything, just pages and pages that were darkened. I mean, is this a normal process for putting out information to the public?
Not at all. Even when you do a federal Information Act request, you get things back that are redacted. You saw the Mueller report, that was redacted. But it's just little bits and pieces so that you can't understand something that might
There we
belong
go.
to personal information or be really confidential on another investigation. There's none of that here. I mean, this is stuff that goes back to 2010 and before that they should have had ready to produce at the moment that law passed. I mean, this is There's no excuse for any of this.
They were given
Sorry, guys.
a month, and they're
Making sure my
already
thing
off.
was working right.
They also had some inference that this was coming because it was discussed
Let me
over
grab
and over and
this
over
and
again
go
when
top-
Congress finally passed the
grab
law.
this
That's how it's
over.
funded. Nick Mackerman, thank you for giving us some insight into how this should work and how you see it breaking down. We really do appreciate it.
Former federal prosecutor Elise Adams is joining the chat. So Elise, first let's look at this. I think it was surprising to a number of people that all of a sudden there are another million documents here that they will need to go through. Did that surprise you?
Well, Eric, I think from a process standpoint, this seems to indicate more of a diligence issue than a cover-up. Look, the amount of documents don't surprise me because what's happened here is the searches have expanded. We aren't talking just about narrow searches related to a case against Jeffrey Epstein. We are now talking about searches related to every possible mention of Jeffrey Epstein. So when this law was passed back in November, DOJ was going to have to cast a wider net for all possible relevant documents. So we knew that there was going to be voluminous. The issue is timing because they've had over a month and we're now hearing that there's over a million documents. So for me, sloppy, maybe, suspicious, not necessarily.
But let me just follow up on that point, because based on your experience, right, as a former federal prosecutor, given the fact that, yes, the law was passed in November, but DOJ essentially knew this was coming. They knew that there was this push. It had been going on for months, even though it took a while to get there. Is this something that, in your experience, if there was a big issue coming down the pike, that DOJ would have been preparing for and would have been reaching out to the SDNY, for example, to say, we need you to just start getting ready?
Well, Erica, that's an interesting question. I think, look, they did know this was coming down the pike. That's why I said this was a diligence issue, right? Would it have made sense, especially knowing that the legislation was likely to pass, to get everybody at the ready? You know, DOJ is saying they have hundreds of attorneys working on this round the clock. So it would have made sense to do those things earlier. You know, and in my experience, we were extremely diligent. But that being said, the DOJ was not required to do this until the law passed.
I gotta ask my brother how much he paid for this monitor.
It seems like their compliance
It's a really nice one.
hindered by those internal processes. So it's very hard to speculate, and you know, it's hard to draw a comparison because this is an unprecedented situation. But that being said, to say you now need more weeks to comply with the law where the deadline was December 19th, again, indicates that they have not been as diligent as they should be, and they should be continuing to.
So in summary, they're full of shit. No way. Anyone surprised? Ooh. Let's see what Prince Andrew's doing in
2025
exile.
was the year that the past finally caught up with Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew. But even though he's been stripped of his titles, thrown out of his grace and favour mansion, and publicly shamed, that may not be the end of disgrace for the late Queen's favourite son, with some calling for the government to take a much closer look at the ex-prince's finances. Last week, while the rest of the royal family met for their annual pre-Christmas lunch, Andrew, who lost the last of his titles just the day before, took a bleak solo horse ride in the rain while a photographer looked on. According to allies, Andrew now spends his days playing video games and watching TV, feeling abandoned and embittered. That's according to his biographer. One told The Telegraph this:
Playing video
"What's he going to
games.
do with the
I
rest
wonder
of his
what
life?
games he
It's a very
plays.
interesting question, and I don't think anyone has the answers yet. I mean, it's not that interesting. He'll probably just carry on doing what he did before, which is not very much. But at the beginning of the year, Andrew's allies seemed upbeat about his future again, according to The Telegraph. It's hard to imagine why, given the seriousness of the accusations around Andrew's links to paedophile billionaire sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. At the centre of the storm, of course, was this photograph. You'll have seen it many times before. Taken in
I hope he's
London
not
in
playing
2001,
Roblox.
showing Andrew with his accuser,
God.
the 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre, while convicted sex trafficker and Epstein acolyte Ghislaine Maxwell grins in the background. Giuffre alleged that she had been trafficked to Andrew, saying the former prince sexually abused and raped her at least 3 times in 2001 while a teenager. In 2019, Andrew denied ever having met her in an excruciating BBC interview.
Oh, it's definitely me. I mean, that's a picture of me. It's not a picture of. I don't believe it's a picture of me in London, because when I go out in London, I wear a suit and a tie. I was at home. I was with the children. I'd taken Beatrice to a Pizza Express in Woking. There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat. I admit fully that my judgment was probably coloured by my tendency to be too honourable.
Giuffre later filed a
Tendency to be too honourable.
New York. In 2022, Andrew settled that case, paying Giuffre an alleged £12 million, partly funded by the late Queen, but making no apology or admission of wrongdoing. That was also the year that the Queen began stripping Andrew of some of his titles in an effort to distance the royal family from the growing scandal. Things went relatively quiet after that, with allies of Andrew reportedly believing he could make a comeback if he kept his head down. Of course, Andrew is not very good at keeping his head down. In December last year, revelations began to emerge about Andrew's links to an alleged Chinese spy. Earlier this year, it was revealed that Andrew had also met 3 times with Kai Chi, a senior member of the Chinese Communist Party alleged to have run a spy ring in the UK Parliament. And it turns out the former prince also fixed private visits to Buckingham Palace for the owners of a cryptocurrency firm, which has agreed to pay his former wife and housemate Sarah Ferguson up to £1.4 million to be their brand ambassador. That deal has led to questions over how Andrew and his former wife have funded their pretty lavish lifestyles, with even King Charles said to be unsure about where they get their money from. The only income that Andrew declares is his £20,000 per year pension from his 22 years employed part-time by the British Navy. Since 2010, when his access to public funds was cut off, Andrew is thought to have received £1 million a year from the Queen's personal wealth. Now, even harder questions are being asked by Andrew's biographer, Andrew Lowney, who appeared on US channel News Nation earlier this month.
So how much money does he have right now?
Well, no one knows. I mean, there's this opaqueness about royal finances. I mean, he has offshore accounts. He has, we know, a Chinese bank account. His stuff is paid through nominee accounts. His company accounts aren't audited. We don't even know all the sums that he's made over the years. We get little glimpses from court cases and whistleblowers. So we just don't know. I mean, there needs to be a proper audit of his finances. And I've been calling for years for something called a royal register. Our parliamentarians have to have a register of their business interests, and that would avoid them getting involved in deals that might be embarrassing, make sure that everything is above board.
Andrew's daughters, Princesses Eugenie and Beatrice, may also find themselves drawn into scrutiny.
They did ask Beatrice and Eugenie to open up their finances and just have someone to look at them, and they both rejected it, correct?
They did. I mean, the thing is, while they're princesses, they're earning large sums of money in the Middle East. We've seen Beatrice promoting a Saudi bank recently. We just don't know what's going on. I mean, again, one of the ways that they're paid is through jewelry, and they then fence that jewelry through various jewelers. And that's been going on for years. It's what Juan Carlos of Spain did. And of course, Juan Carlos of Spain was very close to Andrew. They were sort of working together, particularly in Kazakhstan.
That's interesting to me. So when Princess Beatrice and Eugenie go to the Middle East, for example, now they could both say they're there for their jobs. Eugenie, I believe, is in art, and Beatrice works for a bank. They could say, well, I'm there to talk art, I'm there to talk finances for my actual job. But when they go there, they're handed jewelry. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I mean, we know, for example, I mean, of a case of Beatrice receiving a £18,000 necklace, so about $25,000, from someone she didn't even know. And again, all these people are at, for example, Eugenie's wedding was filled with gangsters and dodgy dictators, you know, as well as film stars she'd never met. And that's how they operate. There's a sort of laundering of their reputations through charity, a way that they use charity to enhance their social position, and it's the same with their business. It's all interconnected.
Now, it's important to say that those are just Lowney's personal allegations, but they've certainly added to a sense of growing intrigue around the financial dealings of the former prince and his family. Central among them are questions around Andrew's housing arrangements, with Prime Minister Keir Starmer backing calls for an investigation into his accommodation at Windsor's Royal Lodge, and Lib Dem leader Ed Davey demanding a select committee inquiry. For the last 20 years, Andrew has lived in luxury, not far from Windsor Palace. This is the sprawling 30-room Royal Lodge in Windsor Great Park that Andrew, along with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, call home. It's also where he hosted some questionable guests. Pictured here at the lodge are convicted sexual predator and former film producer Harvey Weinstein, convicted now dead paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell. A civil suit against Andrew in New York. In 2020, Chi, a senior about Andrew's links to an alleged Chinese spy. Earlier this year,
Sorry, that was an accident.
Andrew had also met 3 times with Kai Chi, a senior member of the Chinese Weinstein, convicted now dead paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell as they attended celebrations for Princess Beatrice's 18th birthday in 2006. That photo was taken just 2 months after a US arrest warrant had been issued for Epstein for the sexual assault of a minor. But following Andrew's disgrace around his links to Jeffrey Epstein, as well as the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth, the new king, Andrew's brother, has been keen to move him on. Not least of all because of increasingly public confrontations like this one in October.
How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew? Have you asked the police to cover up for Andrew? What do you think? Should the MPs be allowed to debate the lawyers in the House of Commons?
There were also further revelations that Andrew may have lied about the extent of his relationship with Epstein. This was SNP Westminster leader Stephen Flynn speaking in the Commons in October.
2019 Newsnight interview, Prince Andrew stated that he broke off ties with the notorious international paedophile Jeffrey Epstein after going to visit him for 4 days in New York. We've since learned through email chains that he in fact got in contact with Jeffrey Epstein subsequent to that and stated that he was looking forward to playing some more. Now, following those revelations and indeed further allegations in the public domain, I've laid a motion before this House which calls on the government to listen to parliamentarians, to listen to the public and to listen to victims and take legislative action to remove the dukedom from Prince Andrew.
It was at that point that politicians who generally avoid commenting on the royal family became increasingly vocal about their distaste for the former prince.
He shouldn't have been associated with a convicted paedophile, and I think the new revelations in this book, make for very sober reading, and I'm sure that everybody will reflect on that and form their own judgment.
He has behaved disgracefully. He's embarrassed the royal family time and again. He should really now leave public life forever, stop having any subsidy from the taxpayer whatsoever, and go and lead an entirely private life. The public are sick of Prince Andrew.
That was Robert Jenrick, maybe for the very first time getting the public mood exactly right. The stripping of all of Andrew's royal titles this year has also meant the falling away of any justification for Andrew to continue to live off the taxpayer, and a protracted battle to evict Andrew from the property has meant his finances have, for the first time, come close to public scrutiny. National Audit Office reports reveal that Andrew paid a peppercorn rent of as little as £1 per year to live in the mansion. He did, however, make some big upfront payments. This is from the BBC. A National Audit Office report shows that when he took on the lease in 2003, he agreed to pay more than £8 million, paying for repairs and effectively buying himself out of future rent obligations for the duration of the 75-year lease. There might now be questions about where Andrew got the funds in 2003 to effectively pay more than £8 million for a lease for life. Andrew is reportedly now trying to claw some of that money back after the early termination of the lease. But don't worry too much. he'll be getting a new free house on the royal family's private Sandringham estate in Norfolk, far from the public eye. This is Marsh Farm, a pretty big house that for some reason the press has described as a shoebox. It's being renovated for Andrew's arrival, and apparently he'll be living there rent-free. In the meantime, he's kicking his heels at Windsor Great Lodge, while servants reportedly pack his belongings, not least of all his collection of 72 teddy bears, which reportedly had to be lined up by a servant in size order every morning. Of course, that's a very different fate to that suffered by his accuser. In April this year, Virginia Giuffre took her own life at the age of 41, with relatives describing her as a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse, who died when the toll of abuse became unbearable. This was Giuffre talking about that fight to 60 Minutes Australia in 2019.
Do you think that Prince Andrew will ever be held accountable?
I'm going to try my damnedest. It's ridiculous that it's gone on this long. There's that much evidence that could have all of these people locked up for the rest of their lives. Why are they still walking around free right now? You know, I hope and I pray that the FBI and the international world as well can start standing behind us victims, us survivors. Give us a hand. Do something about it this time.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has always denied Giuffre's allegations.
Of course he is. There's not many of them that would be like, okay, yeah, I did that. Okay, let's see what else. Blah, blah, blah. Snowstorms going crazy. Well, that's kind of not good. Giant earthquake in Taiwan. Care if it is.
School dinners are the meal that we all love to hate. For people in Britain, they've been the butt of jokes for decades. But there's a big difference between laughing at a school lunch and being forced to swallow the shocking truths about it head on. In 2005, celebrity chef Jamie Oliver hit headlines with a damning expose of the school meals system. He found that a scheme brought in to help children had been systematically failing them for years. As childhood health plummeted and obesity soared, the finger of blame turned to schools. Outraged parents demanded answers. Investigations found that budget cuts, catering contracts, and so-called changes in modern appetites had all led to a massive drop in food standards. But how was this allowed to happen? And with stories still bubbling up in the press, are school dinners really any better now? But first, let's get back to the start of this story. See, school dinners have been part of British society since the early 1900s. In 1906, the Provision of Meals Act gave local education authorities the right to serve meals. This was
Okay. I'm not in the mood for that. It's gonna be one thing. Let's not look at Fortnite. That's not news. Actually, let's see what's going on in gaming. Right. Anything that isn't. Watch him if you guys haven't. Okay, so I don't see anything. This guy always has good stuff. It's an infant video, so it's not anything new. Still no news. I'm not gonna just look at someone else's compilation that's shitty. Yeah. Zach would have liked him. Yeah, there's not much. So we're gonna have to filter, and then this week. Hardware sales are collapsing. Yes, we know. Wolverine, blah, blah, blah. I'm not gonna watch it again. The NVIDIA thing kind of sucks. I don't know what we're gonna do. I like ruined everything. So I think we'll do a little bit more news, and I think we'll be out of here. Because we're looking at how many hours? No, we're not even an hour. Damn, I'm terrible. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let's move on and just go straight to Google. Boom. Let's see what we got. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's sad, but she was 91, so... I mean, that's a pretty good life. That's a pretty good amount of years to live. No idea who President Jeffrey R. Fleming was. Okay. Let's go back to games. I'm just not a politics person, so I can't really say too much about that. Okay, so yeah, now that's interesting. Okay, so 6 people are leaving FaZe Clan all at once. Has to be done. Yeah. Okay. Negotiating. FaZe Clan investor. Hardscope and cash. For the past year and a half, so for the past half year, Kalos plans to continue the group without departed influences. Okay, it's going to be interesting. Okay, they went public in 2022, but the company was acquired by Gabe Square for 17 million, and then the next year, the CEO was fired. Interesting. Ooh. Okay, so you guys have seen Maximilian Dude. He streams and does YouTube videos and all kinds of cool stuff. I like his shit. He's a good guy. So let's see. Maximilian Dude recounts that some developers for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite confronted him for his criticisms of the game. Because that makes your game good, doesn't it? I Heart Justice recently released an interesting video that had him, Wythrow, and I'm not even going to try that. Debate with Maximilian Dude about the state in which Marvel vs. Capcom was released in. It's been over 8 years since the game was released, but it has had undeniably had a lingering impact on the fan base. Well, yeah, because it was garbage. I bought that shit and played it for like 2 days, and then I was like, there's nothing here. Where's the game? Where's the game? It was so fucking depressing. Not a great game. Anyways, during that story, he told the story of how he tried to emphasize just how important X-Men were to Marvel vs. Capcom. At the time, Disney did not own the film rights to the X-Men, so they were given less priority projects like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Less priority in projects, sorry. But you get the point. Fans still cared a great deal about the characters associated with the X-Men series. Originally, there was an interview between Maximilian and some of the other producers that was supposed to be used in a hot takes clip. However, in his instance, on X-Men's representation of the clip that never saw the light of day. Later in the video, Maximilian would tell another story about an interesting interaction between him and some of the people that were involved. He said that was involved, I don't know, with the development. Apparently Maximilian and some of the, oh my god, why is he drawing it out so much? Like, the wording is literally just meant to stretch it so you can waste more of your time. Just fucking write it and get it over with. The developer was mad, and he turns that into, as it turns out, this individual wasn't too happy about the criticisms. Your writing is something else, man. Okay, so it basically told them that their game was garbage, and they didn't like it.
Why do we hate MVC?
Oh, fuck that. Here, now watch a 30-minute video. Fuck you. Okay, so essentially, the devs are just flabbergasted as to why people wouldn't want to play that fucking game. That game was garbage. You guys know it. You can deny it all you want, but nobody likes it. Okay. Ooh, this is gonna be good. All the games releasing in video game movies in the next year. Return to Silent Hill.
Something's happened here. Something really, really bad.
Hold the darkness. You can't keep it away.
Please don't go any further. You don't know what kind of hell you have to face.
Anyways. Okay, so that looked interesting, didn't it? As you can guess, I watched this song. I like this song. Okay, now. It looks interesting, but like not like the most amazing thing. Super Mario Galaxy, the movie. Ooh, I would like Rosalina being in here if she wasn't voiced by Brie Larson. Fuck her. Anyways. Mortal Kombat. Oh, it's age restricted. That's how you know it's a good trailer. Honestly, I can't wait for that. That's gonna be in May. Okay, sweet. Resident Evil, they're doing it again. Okay. Street Fighter looks so good. Another Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I liked the second one. It wasn't as good as the what the fuck?